Good morning, YouTube, or by the time I upload this, maybe it's good evening, or maybe depending on where you are in the world, it's still good morning. Anyway, I had a question that I wanted to make a video answering because I thought it was pretty relevant, and I've got this one a couple times. And so this guy writes in, Fido, says, why do some people get submuscular transposition instead of subcutaneous transpositions? And how long would it take to do push-ups again after surgery? I'm joining the military, so I need to know. Good question. So let's just go over well, first of all, before I go over the pros and cons of each of them, it all boils down to surgeon preference. By far, the biggest reason why some people get it and some get the other. Some surgeons like to do subcutaneous, some surgeons like to do submuscular. There's also very few surgeons, but I did meet a couple that do something called a medial epicondylectomy, where they shave off this your medial epicondyle bone here so that the nerve can kind of move back and forth on its own. I've been told by pretty much every other surgeon besides that guy that did it that that was not a good idea, and that had a lot of pain. And as somebody told me, you can always go back and fix something when you cut into a muscle or tissue, but once you shave a bone away, there's no putting it back. So keep that in mind if your surgeon recommends that. And then there's a simple decompression where they just decompress the area. They don't transpose the nerve or whatever. They usually do that in people that don't have subluxation, or the doctors just want to go, oh, well, maybe you have subluxation, maybe you don't, I don't know, I can't tell. Let's just try this first. I've had surgeons tell me that. So keep that in mind. Most of all, it's just going to be the surgeon's preference for what they recommend to you. But here are the pros and cons for each of them. For a submuscular, it's in a very protected place when they move it, because they cut this flexor pronator muscle right here, and when they transpose it, they put it underneath that muscle, then they reattach that muscle. So it's very protected here. Nothing can hit it. You basically don't have, when you hit your funny bone right now, it's because your nerve runs through these medial epicondyle on this bone right here, and it's kind of exposed right there. And if you hit your nerve, that's what gives you the tingling. Once you put it under that muscle, you're really not going to have that ever happen again because it's very protected there. So that's a very big plus for people that play like if you were a hockey player, a football player, or MMA fighter, or something where there's a lot of physical contact. You would probably have to do that. I don't see how you could do the subcutaneous and expect not to possibly mess things up. So that's a big plus. And this guy being in the military, that's something you probably want to think about, because if you're going to be in combat and you're going to be training and you're going to be, sparring and doing aggressive things, that's probably what you would want to do. That's just my 2 cents. I'm not a doctor, but talk to the doctor about that. Tell them you're going into the military, and so that they can keep that in mind. That's the biggest plus. Although there are some that say when you put it under, so here are the cons. When you put it under that muscle, it can become another point of compression. The surgeon I had, he doesn't like doing the submusculars. In fact, he's said he's had to revise submusculars because sometimes it starts to impinge in the nerve. I don't know how much that happens or not. I mean, sometimes, they tell you that. They could have like one case where they did that, You have to take it with a grain of salt, But I have had surgeons that say, I only do the submuscular because that's the be-all, end-all. Do it this way the first time, you never worry about it again. The other con to submuscular is that it's a long recovery time because they cut the muscle. That's the main thing that takes a while to recover. That flexor pronator muscle here is going to be detached from the tendon. It's going to take a little while to heal, and you're going to have to some doctors will immobilize you, some won't. Some will have you doing physical therapy right off the bat. Some will wait 2-3 weeks, whatever. It all depends on the surgeon. But it's going to take a longer time to recover from a submuscular than a subcutaneous. There is no doubt. So in this guy's case, if he's joining the military, and I don't know, he said like a couple months or something, and you're looking to get this before, you're going to, I still would talk to the doctor, see what they recommend, but if you're going to be fighting and doing all that stuff, and training in a really impact way, submuscular might be your best bet. So factor that in. So subcutaneous, that's just where they decompress this area and move the nerve over here and usually secure it with some sort of fascial sling, muscle fascia being the sort of sausage casing around your muscle. And that just, like mine, it just kind of lays here underneath the skin. That's why it's called subcutaneous. It lays underneath this subcutaneous layer of fat. So, you know, you can, people ask me, well, how sensitive is it if I hit it? I don't know. You know, if I hit it, it would probably hurt just like it hurts when you hit your funny bone. I just try not to do that. Another thing to keep in mind, like with mine, if they don't secure it well enough here, it can sort of start to pop back over this bone. That causes irritation for some people it doesn't. It does that on mine, but only when I, you know, straighten and bend my arm a whole bunch. Now that I'm aware of it, it's not so bad because I know what irritates it, so it hasn't been too bad. I've been able to deal with it. But I was able to recover really fast. I mean, I felt totally fine in like a week's time. I didn't do any physical activity for 2 months. Doctor told me a month, but I made it 2 just because I didn't want to mess anything up. You know, they've got sutures in there, and you just underwent surgery, and even though you feel good, the doctor kept stressing to me, take it easy, don't overdo it. So I waited 2 months before I did anything, but I could definitely do push-ups in 2 months. Probably could have done them in a month. But again, heed the doctor's warning and listen to your doctor. I'm going to guess they're not going to want you to go into the military and be doing basic training after like a month of doing this. You might, you know, mess something up that they did in there, and then you're going to have to go and have it fixed again. And trust me, you don't want to have to do that because I'm kind of teetering on that myself. So that's, you know, the main advantage is it's less invasive. It's a quicker recovery time. And for most people, if you read the studies online, they have the same results as if they had a submuscular. So the outcomes of both of those surgeries are very even, meaning that, you know, if it's like 90% of the people find relief, they find relief with either surgery. So really it's surgeon preference and what your lifestyle is going to be. If you're going to be in the military, you're going to be doing anything with like high physical, you know, stress, contact, sports types of thing, you might want to think about the submuscular. But if you're just like me and you go to the gym or you play guitar or you work at an office job, I'm not fighting anybody on a daily basis, you know, subcutaneous is probably the way to go. And that's all dependent on if you have subluxation. I'm assuming this guy has subluxation of his ulnar nerve because he's talking about either or transposition. If you don't have subluxation, you can just get the decompression surgery and that's an easy fix. But usually, like, if you find a good surgeon like the one I had, he basically decompressed my nerve first because he wanted to see if that would suffice, and then he bends my arm like this, and then the nerve was moving over the bone. So he said, all right, you know, we got to transpose it. So that's really what they should be doing, and most of them, I think, do that. How well they explain that to you when you're in your consultation appointment, well, you know how that goes. They talk to you usually for a couple minutes and said, so when do you want to do the surgery? It is what it is. But I hope that answers your question. Factor in all those things, talk to your doctor, and hopefully you come to the right decision and you can do something you feel comfortable with and is right for you. So anyway, guys, trying to keep these short. I never do a very good job of that. Any questions you guys have, let me know. I hope you guys are doing well and appreciate the continued support. Aloha.